The hour of convening has arrived, and at this time I would ask that all unauthorized persons exit the chamber. It's a great honor to recognize the senator with great empathy and intense compassion from the 53rd District, who also serves as our distinguished Rules Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President, and it's always admirable to notice your punctuality, and want to commend you for that. Years past we weren't so punctual, but by George, we are now. Moment in time, in 1788, the first U.S. steamboat patented, issued by Georgia, was part of the early effort in the naval scenario for our great country. And also the gentleman from the 15th District, a good friend of mine, once ran for the state senate, never believing or never knowing that he would one day be one of the most admired men in the state senate and the dean of the senate. The journal's been read and found to be correct, Mr. President.
It's encouraging to know you spend as much time reading through that journal as you do preparing for this opportunity every day. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
By Senators Wright of the 33rd and others, a bill entitled An Act to Amend Article 7 of Chapter 4 of Title 49 of the OCGA relating to medical assistance generally, so as to provide for a program of premium assistance to enable eligible
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 51 by Senators Thompson of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Part 14 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to other educational programs under the Quality Basic
Education and Youth.
Senate Bill 52 by Senators Thompson of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the OCGA relating to selling and other trade practices so as to provide for legislative findings.
Science and Technology.
Senate Bill 53 by Senators Huff-Settler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 25 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to the Georgia Technology Authority so as to provide...
Science and Technology.
Senate Bill 54 by Senators Harbinson of the 15th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Article 1 of Chapter 9 of Title 19 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding child custody proceedings so as to provide judicial discretion.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 55 by Senators Butler of the 55th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Title 34 of the OCGA relating to labor and industrial relations so as to provide for certain of the program to compensate.
Insurance and Labor.
Senate Bill 56 by Senators Rahman of the 5th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the OCGA relating to fiscal bills generally so as to require an economic analysis prior to the introduction. Senate Bill 57 by Senators Jordan of the 6th and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the OCGA relating to fiscal bills generally so as to provide...
Finance.
Senate Bill 58 by Senators Parent of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to imposition, rate, computation, and exemptions from income taxes.
Finance.
Senate Resolution 39 by Senators Dixon of the 45th and others, a resolution recognizing the Honorable Charlotte Nash and dedicating an intersection in her honor and for other purposes.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 42 by Senators Butler of the 55th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to create the Family Medical Leave Fund to authorize the dedication of certain revenues
Insurance and Labor.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will now read reports of standing committees. That was quick. We'll now read bills and resolutions for the second time, Mr. Secretary.
Senate Bill number 11 by Senator Rhett of the 33rd and others, Senator Jack Hill Veterans Act, enact. This completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for our morning roll call. It is now time for our morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? The chair recognizes the senator from Forsyth County.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 25th.
Without objection, the senator from the 25th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 35th, 36th, 38, and 37.
Without objection, the senators from the 35th through the 37th are excused. Chair recognizes the dean of the Senate.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 2nd.
Without objection, the senator from the 2nd is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 16th.
Without objection, the senator from the 16th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th, the late ringing.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the chairman of the Insurance Committee.
Without objection, the chairman of the Insurance Committee. Senator from the 11th. It's right in front of me. I should have just looked. Secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted their attendance? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, we've got, nobody get hurt now. Take your time. Mr. Secretary, will you please lock the machine? It's now time for our morning devotional, and I ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversations. Also, I'd like to ask that our doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. It's my honor to recognize a senator from the 42nd to introduce our chaplain of the day and to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation. Thank you. I am honored this morning that we are joined by the Reverend Dr. Beth LaRocca Pitts. She is a senior pastor at Oak Grove United Methodist Church. I would like to thank our doorkeeper, Jerry Conley, who's one of the congregants there, for recommending that Reverend LaRocca Pitts join us this morning. She has served the North Georgia Conference as an elder since 1984, as the pastor in charge of the Bishop Circuit and at Watkinsville First, both in Oconee County, as the senior pastor at St. Mark UMC in Midtown Atlanta, and as associate pastor at Snellville First UMC and Athens First UMC. Beth also has a PhD in Old Testament studies and has taught at Duke Divinity School, the University of Georgia, the Candler School of Theology in the Contextual Education and Course of Study School programs. She is currently a delegate to the General Conference for 2020 and has served on many conference boards and agencies. Her husband, Mark, is also an elder in the North Georgia Conference and is the pastor of a church in Lilburn, Georgia. She'll have to remind me the name, I forgot. Harmony Grove in Lilburn, Georgia. And he has also served many years in hospital and hospice chaplaincy. Mark also holds a PhD in Old Testament studies. They met in graduate school. Beth and Mark have 2 children, twins, age 20, Ellie and Joe. Ellie attends Georgia Tech, and Joe attends Georgia State. Thank you. We're looking forward to hearing from you, Reverend LaRocca Pitts.
When I spoke about 10 years ago on the other side of the building, I issued apologies from my extended family for the surveying mistake that my distant cousin James Kamick made, placing the pin in the northwest corner of the state, which lost us the Tennessee River Valley water rights. Our bad. Okay. James Kamick, he was, a blessed memory. Yesterday, I spoke to my congregation about a biblical book that I think gets more and more apropos every year that passes here in our great country, namely St. Paul's first letter to the church at Corinth. What makes 1 Corinthians a great parallel for our modern situation is the nature of that community and the seemingly intractable impasses in their fellowship that Paul sought to address. Disagreements and dissension were ever present in Corinth, in part because it was a port town. People moved there from all over the Mediterranean world, and Paul's preaching converted all sorts of these folks to Christianity. Rich people, poor people, slaves, slave owners, Africans, Greeks, Arabs, Romans, Jews, men, women, people with lots of philosophical education, and people with no education at all. Corinth was one of the most heterogeneous churches anywhere around. And this meant that as soon as Paul left from teaching them in person to go off to another city on his list, the Corinthians would start arguing and breaking up into factions. They competed with each other for the right to control the church. Those who felt themselves more spiritual than others would claim the right to lead, and those with more education would claim the right to lead. And the situation became more difficult by the fact that the disagreements that they had were not merely differences of opinion. There were also disagreements over fact, over what was real and what was not real. The case we focused on yesterday from 1 Corinthians 8 was an obscure issue, namely whether it was appropriate or not to eat at festivals thrown by the local pagan temples. The meat served at these festivals was the issue because it was meat that had been sacrificed to pagan gods. Some in the community believed that it was okay to eat at these festivals because Paul had taught them that these pagan gods didn't really exist. They weren't real. Therefore, you weren't worshiping anything just by eating such food. If the gods aren't real, then the festival meal is just that, a meal and nothing more. Others thought that eating at a pagan temple under any circumstances was wrong because it constituted participation in a pagan cult. They didn't just have a difference of opinion about this subject, they had a basic disagreement about reality. They disagreed about what was not real. Are the pagan gods real or not? Do they still have power or don't they? Should we feel free to associate with them because they are harmless? Or should we shun them completely because they're dangerous? Those are two different views of reality. In one, the pagan gods are real. In the other, the pagan gods aren't real. It's not really about the food. So how did Paul attempt to get his followers past this reductionistic conflict? How did he see them uniting in common cause as a community if they couldn't even agree to what was and was not real? Paul's suggestion to them was that they should try to understand each other, even if they didn't change their own opinions or their own actions. They should try to understand what was helpful and what was hurtful to the other members of their society. And if there was any way that they could defer to one another on issues that caused great unrest and conflict, they should defer to one another for the sake of the whole community. For instance, to take a modern example, why don't Methodists like myself serve wine at communion? Let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with wine. Jesus did not turn the water at the wedding at Cana of Galilee into grapefruit juice. But because having communion wine excludes from the table those who are alcoholic, we don't serve wine at communion. I might be able to have a glass of wine with no ill effects, but someone with a vulnerability to alcohol might not be able to do that. So we all drink grape juice so that we don't exclude some of our members from the larger body of Christ. The body of Christ is one of Paul's favorite metaphors. He gets to it in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. He told them the community is like a body, that is one body, but which contains many parts. The parts are different, but they are all necessary. The body can't live without all its parts, and if all the parts were the same, you wouldn't have a body at all. You'd have a giant eyeball or a giant foot, unable to do any of the other things that the other parts of the body made possible. So the body imagery was designed to help them value one another's differences instead of seeing those differences as problems to be resolved. Their differences made them stronger. Their differences were not a problem, Paul argued, but rather a blessing. Finally, Paul also said in chapter 12 that everyone has gifts, but no matter what their gift, there is still something else to learn about giftedness. There was still to be learned something he called the more excellent way, something more excellent than trying to attain the highest gifts possible. And I'm sure all of you who are familiar with the New Testament know what is that more excellent way. It is described in the very next chapter where Paul writes, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." 1 Corinthians 13 is not just some sappy passage to read at a wedding. It isn't even about weddings at all. It's about how God has given us gifts that will only become realized if we use those gifts with a loving spirit. Without love, all of our gifts become weapons, and all of our neighbors become targets. But used with love, our gifts can change the world. Each of you is gifted with gifts like the ones described by Paul, but you are also gifted with a personal story that frames your gifts, that gives them context, and which has charted the course in your life that has led you here, where you can lead and empower and bless your community with the gifts our God has given you. And God has given you to one another, to hear and understand one another's stories, to understand what brought you all together and what wisdom there is to be shared in your gathered community. We citizens of the state of Georgia are blessed to have you here to labor on our behalf. For my part, I pray for you every day in these perilous times. What I would like for you to hear from my community, from my church, is this: God has called you to serve. God has given you everything you need in order to serve well. God has given you great skills, great gifts, and a personal story. But most of all, God has given you to one another. When you pause to hear and appreciate one another's stories, when you place your gifts at one another's disposal, when you exercise those gifts with love and deference, then the whole community will be blessed by you and by God who sent you here. Let us pray. Dearest God, I commend to you these your servants. Bless them always with your grace and with your wisdom and with your mercy. Keep them safe. Give them reassurance of your presence with them as they speak together. Bless them in all ways possible in your most holy name. Amen.
Senate will come back to order. Senate will now come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair sees none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I learned last week that we lost a real legend and titan in the economic world here in Georgia. In December, Tom Cunningham, who worked for the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, many of us knew Tom and worked with Tom, suddenly and unexpectedly had passed away. He did an immeasurable amount of work for the state of Georgia and the Metro Atlanta Chamber for helping us do a significant amount of analysis as well as help to propel Georgia to where we are today. So, Mr. President, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Mr. Tom Cunningham, please.
Senator has asked that we rise and offer a moment of silence.
Amen. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I'll just take the well briefly to flag a very important development that can be a game changer for hundreds of thousands of our constituents. What is that game changer? The Biden administration has reopened the enrollment period for the Affordable Care Act. That enrollment period ends in December, has a hard stop deadline. If a citizen doesn't get their application work done, then they miss out a year of health coverage that where they could get a government subsidized premium that they can afford. Opening up for 3 more months access to the Affordable Care Act is a huge game changer. I talked to a friend yesterday whose son, a grown man, working in the oil fields out in Texas, thought he'd never get sick, got hit with the COVID. He's 40 years old. Didn't have insurance. You have to get your own insurance when you work in those oil fields. He didn't do it. He is having he's what they call a long hauler, where he had his COVID last May. He's probably got permanent lung damage. He doesn't have insurance. So the care that he needs for this ongoing condition is very challenging for him to get because he got too sick to work and he doesn't have employment now. I'm racing to the phone as soon as I leave this well to call her and say, your Jesse, your JC can get an insurance plan now that covers pre-existing conditions. It's going to be a 3-month period opened up. And I think, and I want to urge all of you all to think about the urgent message that you can bring to your constituents that they have a chance to get health care coverage right now for the next 3 months. That is the Affordable Care Act, and that is subsidized by federal dollars. The premiums are very reasonable for low-income people. It's set up to be that way. This year, as of last December, 517,000 Georgians signed up and got health care coverage through the Affordable Care Act. That is a record number for our state. We've never broken past 500,000 before, but now we have. And when has there been a more urgent time for people to have an affordable health insurance policy. It is now available to those who will take advantage of it. So join with me in sharing this news with your constituents, because we know everybody doesn't sit and listen to all those details that come across. Some people turn off news altogether, and they may not even know it. Help me and help us and help Georgia share that information, and we can get more Georgians insured affordably, which is going to help all of us. As we know, we're all linked. Public health is public health is public health, and everybody that has an insurance plan is doing all the rest of us a favor. Thank you for your attention.
Chair recognizes the Rules Chairman for a point of personal privilege.
Mr. President, I come today after a weekend of what I would think would be sports. And used to, I enjoyed watching sports on TV. And I know it's hard to believe, but once I was an athletic person, you know, the body is somewhere within this body. And I enjoyed football, baseball, basketball. A little short on the basketball, but I still enjoyed it. But today we have new parties that have emerged. You have the Republican Party, you got the Democrat Party, and now the NFP, the National Football Party, or the NBP, the National Basketball Party. Won't they play sports and leave the party politics for us? I think that's what it should be. I'm tired of watching political statements on the football field or the basketball court. I think that should be for the politics of the nation. Now, okay, they have the right to for their political opinion, absolutely. But I have the right to not support people in celebrity positions who want to offer their position to try to turn the election cycle. They need to play football or basketball, and let me commend the National Baseball League. You don't see that there, or not much of it anyway. I'm proud of those. I'm proud of the Atlanta Braves, but I will not watch any professional football on my TVs in my house. I will not watch any professional basketball leagues in my house, and will soon not be supporting the products that they are pushing on those sport networks. Not going to do it. So, Mr. President, you see a grumpy old man standing before you. That means business. And none of that will be on my TV in my house for anybody to watch until they resort for playing sports and not politics. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair's interested in what your best pitch was when you were a baseball player. That's odd. Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd for a point of personal privilege.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President. Today, I rise to bring recognition and celebration of February, the month of Black History. It is a month-long celebration of contributions of Blacks to our great nation. It is time to reflect. It is a time to reflect on our stories past while keeping an eye on what the future entails. As the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, we stand on the shoulders of many who have gone before us, the shoulders of Senator Leroy Johnson, Representative Grace Towns Hamilton, and other legislators who have advanced for all Georgians, for all Georgians in the state capitol. We stand on the shoulders of many Black inventors, of many Black baseball players, our very own Hank Aaron, civil rights leaders, John Lewis and Shirley Chisholm, the 33 that were expelled because of the color of their skin. They were forced to abdicate their seats. We honor our past by taking what is necessary to build a better future. We remain steadfast in our commitment to freedom, justice, equality, equity, and opportunity. I stand in awe of our resilience. I stand in awe of our tenacity. I stand in awe of our strength. Today begins the celebration of Black History, and you will hear from us the rest of the month, because every day in this chamber we will celebrate. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. You have before you a consent calendar of privileged resolution. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Chair sees none. Is there objection to the adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? The chair sees none. Chair recognizes the Majority Whip.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent that SB 6 be engrossed.
Mr. Secretary, please read SB 6, the caption.
Senate Bill Number 6 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the OCGA relating to fiscal bills generally so as to provide for independent economic analysis to be procured by the Office of Planning and Budget for certain tax benefits upon request by chairpersons of the House Committee on Ways and Means and the Senate Finance Committee. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd.
The Minority Leader has objected. Would the Majority Whip like to speak to his motion? Waves. Does the Minority Leader wish to speak to her objection? She waves. All those in favor of the motion to engross will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. All senators, please make your way to the chamber and vote your machines. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 31, the nays are 19. The motion has prevailed, and SB 6 is engrossed. We're now going to move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to SB 6?
Senate Bill Number 6 by Senator Albers of the 56th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the OCGA relating to fiscal bills generally so as to provide for independent economic analysis to be procured by the Office of Planning and Budget for certain tax benefits upon request of the chairpersons of the House Committee on Ways and Means and the Senate Finance Committee, to provide a short title, to provide for limits, to provide for summaries to be attached to related fiscal notes, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Today I bring before you Senate Bill 6, the Tax Credit Return on Investment Act of 2021. Let me begin by acknowledging our record 8 years in a row of being the #1 place to do business. This has been critical, most especially these last 11 months with the pandemic. And I want to recognize the extraordinary leadership by our governor, as he's been recognized by leading economists, the Wall Street Journal, and many other leaders in job creation, while we paved the way and many other states followed to open our state quickly and safely in order to put people back to work. This, combined with our very sound fiscal management, have placed Georgia in an enviable position. Let me begin with some history. Back in 2017, this body passed Senate Resolution 222, the Senate Study Committee on Special Tax Exemptions. Myself, the current finance chairman, the majority leader, our former appropriations chairman, the late Senator Jack Hill, and others met many places and all over the state in order to gather information about how we could handle this process and measure it better. We had an expanded team helping us, then Revenue Commissioner Lynn Riley, the Pew Charitable Trust, Dr. Bob Bushman, and Dr. Laura Wheeler from the Georgia State Fiscal Research Center, as well as the late Tom Cunningham, the economist from the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, and others. We learned what other states were doing, and most other states had been measuring these credits, and we learned from both their challenges as well as their best practices. Our focus was simple. We wanted to ensure that we had a process in place to measure our return on investment, and we wanted to make sure our timing was accurate for sunsetting tax credits in order to measure them. And most importantly, we wanted to maintain our ranking as the best place to do business. And during that analysis in 2017, we also did a full comprehensive analysis of 6 existing tax credits at the time. Of the 6 we analyzed, 3 of them were found to be extraordinarily beneficial. In fact, the return on investment was so good, we argued they should be expanded even more. But we also found 3 that were out of date. They were no longer applicable, and they were not providing that return on investment. And because of this, in 2018, I authored Senate Bill 328, which passed this body in the House and was signed into law by the government, which eliminated those 3 tax credits that were not providing that all-important return on investment. We also realized that in the past, we had put a 3-year sunset on our tax credits and exemptions, which made perfect sense, except it took 4 years to get the data in order to truly measure those. So then we worked to change those over the last couple of years to put a 5-year sunset to make sure when we did that analysis that we were measuring those with all the right data and information at our hands. And lastly, we needed an ongoing process mimicking most every other state to measure those credits and incentives. Back in 2019, this body passed a version of this bill looking identical to what you see today, with the exception is we had the state auditor completing that. The governor weighed in and brought up a very valid point, and I want to thank him and his office for this extraordinary work. Their point was, if the state auditor did the fiscal note to begin with, they shouldn't be the person auditing it. Because of his quick pickup, we have now changed this bill to make that OPB, the Office of Planning and Budget. and now we will truly have an independent analysis. Now, OPB can then contract with third parties, such as the Fiscal Research Center at Georgia State University, if they so desire. Let me tell you about the bill. The bill allows the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, as well as the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, to each request up to 5 economic analyses each and every year. Now, they need to do this on or before May 1st to get a report returned to us by December 1st. Well, that's certainly important for us so we can plan for the next legislative session to have that information at our fingertips. This will assure that we have that fiscal responsibility in place, and as you'll be able to see through the bill, I won't read it line by line, but we'll measure the amount given out versus the amount returned. Senate Bill 6 is going to continue to demonstrate the leadership of this Senate body as we have passed a version of this bill unanimously and in a bipartisan fashion in the past. We want to keep Georgia the #1 place to do business, and as former President Ronald Reagan said it best, the greatest social program ever created was a job. And we can continue to solve so many challenges with a balanced and proactive approach to having sound fiscal responsibility and keeping people working. Mr. President, I will yield for questions.
Just getting used to this again, Senator. Apologize for that. Does any senator have a question? Chair sees none.
Mr. President, this is good policy, and it's the right thing to do. I appreciate your favorable consideration for this important legislation. Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 6? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 9?
Okay. Senate Bill 9 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to create a new judicial circuit for the state of Georgia to be known as the Columbia Judicial Circuit and to be composed of Columbia County, to provide for the transfer of certain funds from the Augusta Judicial Circuit to the Columbia Judicial Circuit. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitution. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 53rd.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 24th to present Senate Bill 9. Senator, please hold. We have a substitute that we need to read in. Mr. Secretary, please read the substitute.
The Senate Committee on Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 9. A bill to be entitled an act to create a new judicial circuit for the state of Georgia to be known as the Columbia Judicial Circuit, to be composed of Columbia County, to provide for the judges and the district attorney of said new circuit and their terms, selection, and compensation, to transfer certain judges from the Augusta Judicial Circuit and to the Columbia Judicial Circuit. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair now recognizes the senator from the 24th to present Senate Bill 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I bring to you Senate Bill 9. This bill has been talked about for over 2 decades. The split of the Augusta Superior Court Circuit. I'm here because Columbia County and Richmond County, which represents 95% of the precinct, has passed resolutions in favor of the split. Therefore, if I'm here representing the people that I'm elected by. The Augusta Circuit is the largest multi-county circuit in the state of Georgia. In 2018, the senator from the 22nd requested a study about the split. In 2018, and it is today, the Augusta Circuit has 8 judges. 4 judges live in Columbia County. 4 judges live in Richmond County. No judges live in Burke County. Since 2018, Columbia County asked me to have another study taken care of. I said I will. What has happened since 2018, one of the judges in Columbia County has retired. Now we only have 3 judges in Columbia County, 4 judges in Richmond County. The new study showed that it would be an ideal situation for Columbia County to go on its own with its own circuit with 3 judges. Senate Bill 9 has no new local money in the bill. Every county pays what they pay in now. The only new money is, that is in Senate Bill 9 on the local level, is the new DA that would be in Columbia County. And Columbia County will pay that portion. Section 3-1 explains that all senior judges that is retired or still senior judges that already occur before July the 1st, 2021, all 3 counties will pay for them judges. Also in Section 3-2 and Section 3-3, all judges that retire and DAs that retire after July 1st, 2021, that particular circuit is responsible for that funds. Section 2-2 explains that Richmond County and Burke County has the right to change their agreement portions of money each county pays, as long as both counties agree. Columbia County has a tremendous facility to house the new DA and the judges already in place, already paid for. No extra money. Section 1-1, the governor will appoint a new DA in Columbia County and the 3 judges. Section 2-1, Augusta asked that the 5th judge be placed in the Richmond-Burke County Circuit, which we will in the bill. All new judges will be paid the same as they already being paid right now in the new circuit in Columbia County. All judges that will be in the Richmond-Burke County circuit will be paid, and also DA will be paid the amount of salary they already being paid right now. For over 2 decades of discussion, and now having the support of 95% of the circuit, I ask you to vote for the Senate Bill 9, vote green, vote for the great people, the great state of Georgia, that we may move forward. There's no question that I yield the well, and I ask you to vote yes.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 17th for a question.
Senator Yield. Senator, this bill primarily just impacts Richmond County and Columbia County, correct?
Basically.
Well, you further yield?
Yes, sir.
Did the local boards of commissioners weigh in on their thoughts on this bill?
As I said, I have a resolution from both Columbia County and Richmond County in support of the split.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, sir. I ask you to vote green.
Mr. Secretary, we've got some amendments. Will you read those amendments for us?
Senate amendment by Senators Jones, the 2nd of the 22nd, and Senator Anderson of the 24th, offered the following amendment: amend Senate Bill 9, substitute 2 by replacing line 81 with Michael N. Annis and their successors. The district attorney at the Augusta Judicial Circuit shall be Jared T. Williams and his successors. Each judge and the district attorney respectively shall serve out there. Senate Amendment number 2 by Senators Jones, the 2nd of the 22nd, and Anderson of the 24th. Amend committee substitute by inserting after line 74, section 1-7, all starring for all, judicial circuit referenced herein shall be governed pursuant to OCGA 15-18-28. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the minority whip to speak to the bill and to both amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in favor of the underlying bill and also to the 2 amendments which are signed by the senator from the 22nd and also the senator from the 24th. First, to put in some type of perspective, the Augusta-Richmond County Judicial Circuit is one of the largest multi-county circuits, if not the largest multi-county circuit in Georgia, quite frankly. It basically is comprised of 2 of the top 15 counties that exist, and that is Columbia County and also Richmond County. Richmond County, I believe, being number 11, and Columbia County being number 15. It is the only circuit that has those 2 type large counties within its jurisdiction. The only other circuit which is similar to that is also the Coweta Circuit, where you have, but it actually comprises of 5 counties. Out of the top 15 counties in the state, 12 of those are single circuit counties. Those include Fulton, Gwinnett, Cobb, Stone Mountain, Clayton, Eastern, Cherokee, Forsyth County, Henry, Paulding, Houston, and then Richmond and Columbia County are together. So as we see, when you're dealing with counties this large, many times they're either its own circuit or possibly just, with another smaller county. And in this particular situation, Augusta Richmond County will also be still aligned with Burke County. We are now in agreement with this particular proposal. This has been a proposal which has been articulated by various members of the Senate over the years. And somebody was asking me or was concerned about the precedent that this might set. And one of the things I would say is the precedent that it would set is that you have 3 former state senators and myself, now a current state senator, and also myself being a former solicitor, who have publicly stated that they were in favor of this judicial circuit split. And so that would be the precedent that you would have to be following, to where you have a solicitor, which was myself since 2006, requested a circuit split. We've had a former state senator, and now the current state senator of Richmond County is also in concurrence with this. So if you can meet that precedence, then possibly you could fall in line. So that would be the precedence that would have to be followed. So this is something that has been discussed, been argued about, quite frankly, over almost 16 years that I know of. But we believe that we have a fair resolution, and part of that is going to be that the amendments that you have on your desk, number one, we wanted to make sure that we named all of our parties that were involved in this circuit. And so one of the things we did was we named the judges that would be in the Columbia Judicial Circuit, and we also named the judges that would be in the Richmond Judicial Circuit. But we wanted to make sure that we named the current district attorney, that he would be the current district attorney for the Augusta Judicial Circuit. It was probably just to make sure that there was no doubt that that was going to be the case. The second one was also on staffing. We wanted to ensure that the law, which currently says that the current DA's staffing would remain the same, that staffing would remain the same. So we basically cited that statute to be under the abundance of caution. There was another issue that I had dealing with forfeiture money, but that has been resolved. And so at this point in time, Mr. President, we're asking, and I'm asking for a green vote to the amendments and also to the underlying bill. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Doesn't look like you have any questions, Senator.
Thank you. I'll yield the will.
Are there any other senators that wish to speak for or against the bill or the amendment? The chair sees none. All right, we'll take up amendment number 1 first. The question is on the adoption of amendment number 1 from the senator from the 22nd. Is there objection to the adoption of the amendment? The chair hears none, and the amendment number 1 is adopted. Now we'll take up amendment number 2. The question is on the adoption of amendment number 2. Is there objection to adoption of the amendment? The chair hears none, and amendment number 2 is adopted. The question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Chair hears none. The committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor signify by voting yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Resolution 30?
Senate Resolution Number 30 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others, a resolution appointing Matthew Mashburn to the State Election Board and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mullis of the 53rd.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 46th to present Senate Resolution 30.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. This is a resolution to appoint Mr. Matthew Mashburn to the State Elections Board. He will serve a 2-year sentence. I guess that's good, probably appropriate today, but he will serve a term of 2 years commencing on the date after our session sine dies. He has currently been appointed to fill the unexpired term of former Senator Seth Harp from Columbus, Georgia, who resigned, I think it was in December a year ago, and he's been serving ably in this position. He's very qualified, experienced in election law. His resume shows he's 60 years old, been practicing law over 25 years, has written numerous articles on tabulation of election results, and has worked in that field for some time. So I would commend him to the members of the Senate to elect for a 2-year term beginning the first day after this session expires. Mr.
Senator,
President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well. I'm happy to entertain any there may be.
You have no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing the report of the committee, which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The questions on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 49, the nays are 1. The resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad to see that the 31st is still in good hands. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read the announcements?
Senate committee schedule. The Rules Committee is canceled. Appropriations and Judiciary Subcommittee will meet at 11:30 in Mezzanine 1. Finance Committee will meet at 1 p.m. in Room 450. The Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee is canceled. The Judiciary Subcommittee A is canceled. Appropriations General Government Subcommittee will meet at 2:30 p.m. in Room 450. Education and Youth Committee will meet at 3:30 in Room 307 in CLOB. The Ethics Committee will meet at 4:45 in room 307 in CLOB. This completes the order, Mr. President.
I feel like I've got backlighting. Everybody's squinting. Are there any additional announcements from the Senate? The chair sees none. The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it, and the Senate stands adjourned.